in terms of people trying to understand how to value solar energy, especially for their businesses. And hopefully this session should be able to give you a clear understanding of that. But before I kind of dive into it, I'll just talk a little bit about myself and introduce myself. Obviously, my name is Dr. Patrick Agassi, the CEO of PAM. Relatively have over kind of 10 years of experience in the renewable energy space, both in Europe and Africa. And I spent a significant amount of time in research and innovation on in energy engineering at the University of Reading. So the idea is that there are a lot of advancements in the renewable energy space, and we've seen the price for renewable energy, especially specifically solar, reduced significantly over the last couple of years. This has now made it come to a point where solar energy is affordable, or getting to a point that it's affordable for businesses in Africa. So hopefully we can kind of show you a bit of interesting analysis to why we think now is a good time to make a switch. So let's just briefly talk about what we've been seeing in the market. I mean, if you're in specifically in Nigeria and in Lagos over the last couple of years, you would have seen the significant increase in the price of both diesel and petrol. So let's take for diesel, for example, which has had the most significant increase in cost, roughly about 230% in 3 years, or actually 2 years. So that is a significant cost that can have a lot of shock to any business in terms of increasing how much you spend to service your generators, to kind of get fuel in and run your business. And a lot of people have been facing a lot of problems because of that specific reason. But not only that, some other businesses also use petrol as a alternative fuel for their generators. Mostly these are businesses which have smaller size solutions. And we've also seen a 170% increase in price over the last 2 years. So it's no hidden gem that the price for these diesel and petrol is very high, and it's increasing, and we're seeing an increasing trend over the next couple of years. So it's going to be a big problem, and it is already a big problem. Now we need to kind of have an alternative solution for power to derive that other than the grid. So if you are aware, so I think petrol prices are expected to rise to about 462 naira per liter once the fuel subsidies are removed. So if you've been keeping an eye on the news over the last couple of years, it's very clear that this new leadership, that there is discussions of removing fuel subsidies, which can significantly increase the price for diesel and petrol when that is removed. So it's a huge problem, and that needs to be looked into. So if you look at the average business in Nigeria, about 30% of their expenses actually goes to energy, right? And this is going to increase significantly over the next couple of years as well. And we need to kind of keep track of this in terms of how we can reduce our business expenses in terms of how we access electricity. So this can significantly affect the bottom line and your margins. So most of the businesses who spend a lot of money, effort, and time on accessing diesel and petrol, this could really affect how you operate your business. So it's important to consider what are the options you have out there that can allow you to reduce your business spend. So I'll quickly dive into a pool just to test if you guys have been paying attention on this. So I'll just ask a very cheeky question, which probably the answer was on the previous page. And that is, how much will the price of petrol be when the fuel subsidy is removed. So maybe Masuri, can you activate the poll to see if we can get these answers right?
The poll is live and we're getting responses already. All right, I'm going to publish the results now, so you can move on with your presentation.
Okay, so let me know if you see how many people get it wrong. I'll be interested to see how many people get it wrong. Just let me know once that's out. So just to kind of highlight some of the benefits that we feel that solar can bring to a business, if you're especially running a business in Nigeria or you're looking into that space. One of it is kind of the being immune to market shocks, right? So what that means is, let's take for example, fuel scarcity, for example, right? The fact that you have to queue up for hours and hours to find fuel or petrol or diesel from the petrol stations, the cost it takes to go in there, the stress it put up on you and your business. And then we're not also talking about the inflated prices that you can also pick up from the black market and also some of these petrol stations. All these together has a number of negative effects to any business. And if you are accurately tracking your business and the activities you're doing with your business, you can see how this can have a knock-on negative effect to how you operate your business. So being able to be immune to market shocks is quite interesting. A good benefit of solar energy because you don't have to actually kind of go and buy any fuel for access to power, and you can continue your business operation as usual. Another benefit that we have identified is the ability to kind of plan and have a stable planning and budgeting for your business. So you technically know what your expenses would be throughout that year if you are 100% reliant on solar. Because if, let's say, for example, you pay monthly or you pay outright for your solar system, you know that, okay, for electricity for this year, it's probably going to be a minor maintenance activity going on rather than you having to worry about fitting up the bill for fuel, maintenance, and any other activity that you haven't predicted because of the use of a petrol or diesel generator. So that's also an interesting perspective to think about if you're running a business and allowing and using solar energy as a key source for your power. Another thing is reducing operational costs, right? So if you're most of the time, if you're running a long-term business where you're going to have the business over 2 years, 3 years, and you kind of consider how much power or cost of power over that period of time, you would realize that if you kind of go with a renewable energy approach, specifically solar, then you're more likely to kind of enjoy some cost savings on your operational areas. And that could be kind of reduced cost of maintenance of systems, and also foregoing the kind of the cost for inflated prices of fuel as well. So it's also very interesting to understand that you want to try and reduce your bottom line, how much you spend on these other sources of energy, and go with an option that can actually save you money in the long run. Now, let's look at kind of your assets and kind of value of your assets. So if you own a business or you own a home, and let's say that the building assets actually yours, and you're looking to kind of sell it in the future, or you sell any other assets in the future, it's much more attractive when you have solar and solar systems in there, because the buyer is going to come in and think, oh, look, I have this building already has solar. I don't have to worry about electricity. I don't have to worry about uh, kind of getting diesel or petrol. I can just move in and continue using that asset, right? So it's more likely that I mean, there's been research done on this that houses actually that has solar in them or buildings have solar in them have sold for more than others which haven't, and it's considering more than it even offsets the price that you actually used to pay for it. So you can definitely increase your property value, especially those who are in the real estate sectors who are trying to sell properties. It's much more beneficial for them to consider renewable energy systems. Also, your brand reputation as well. Most people who kind of operate in the business sphere, they seem to put your company and your brand as on a better position when you have solar energy in operation. I've walked into various establishments and when I walk in and there's light in their in their establishment, let's say the supermarket or whatever it is, and other places around them there's no electricity. Um, Most people tend to favor going back to you because they know that whatever happens, you can get cold drinks in your shop, or they can always um, rely on you as someone who actually has power 24/7, and it tends to improve your business because much more people will be coming to your establishment to do work. So there's a lot of benefits that just that can help improve your return of investment, or say maximize your return of investment by considering a renewable energy system like solar. So that's a little bit about it. I'll just kind of just before I just wrap up this keynote session, we just talk about PAM a little bit. I mean, if you're aware about PAM, obviously we provide solar energy for standalone solar and develop net zero villages, and we have a lot of innovations that can support CNI customers and businesses who are looking to transition to renewable energy. So I think that's it for me. That's our phone number. You can easily contact us. Somebody can be in touch to support you. And we're in Lagos, so if you need to kind of reach out to us, we can support you in that activity. That's it for me, and hopefully there's also much more interesting sessions later on, and then I'll be on the webinar to listen in as well to others. And yeah, very nice. And Musari, thank you for the opportunity on this as well.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick. That was a very insightful session, and all the points raised were very cool and very important points. If you have any questions from this session, please do not hesitate to drop it in the Q&A box. We'll be attending to everything right after our presenters have spoken. So without wasting too much of our time, Natasha, I will read CEO 19.
Hi everyone, I hope you're well. Let me just pull up my slides and share screen. 1 second. Okay. Can you all see my screen? Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Natasha, co-founder CEO at Iwana Energy. And what I really want to talk to you today is about a phrase I'm sure a lot of you have heard, soft life. Take a moment to think about what this means for you and your company. I'm sure it means a whole lot of different things to a bunch of people. But as you're thinking about that, just keep a note of what exactly comes to mind when you think of the term soft life. So obviously this presentation is about solar energy and how solar is able to help you maximize your return on investment. And Dr. Patrick gave an amazing presentation really going into the details of the facts and figures around solar and how it can help you achieve your goals. And so I'm really going to talk through more of the social side and the impacts of how solar really affects people's lives on a day-to-day. So I am really passionate about people living their happiest and their healthiest lives. And for me, this means a number of things, but that's really what we built Iwana Energy around. So how can we provide products that serve a real problem, that solve a real problem? And I have constantly been dumbfounded just going around the country and meeting different people, how so many simple things are just not that simple. And they really should be. So that's what soft life means to me. And that's what we really focus on at Iwana Energy. So my first point is around why you should seek a soft life. So I have a number of reasons why, so let's just get into it. I recently watched this film called Aim of Air, and it was actually really interesting and just really depicted the lives of really typical stories around Nigeria and how they were all seeking better things for themselves, but different things kept happening to frustrate them throughout the film. And for me, it was just irritating watching it and just seeing like how simple solutions really could have saved them. And in the first person's case, it was a really tragic story of a family who they had a generator and one of them forgot to turn off their generator before they fell asleep, and they kept their generator inside the house, which I'm sure a lot of you know is completely no. It's a huge carcinogen and it's really toxic for human health, and unfortunately the family ended up passing away as a result of this action, which to a lot of us might be simple, but it's still something that people do on a daily basis here, and I think it's completely preventable. So I just wanted to start with that, but we're going to get a little bit lighter, don't worry. Another reason is to reduce your worry. So this is a text that we got on our Instagram from a customer now who texts us at 3:30 in the morning saying, you know what, I want to order a 500-watt solar generator. It's 3 a.m. and I can't sleep because I'm thinking about how to get fuel so I'll be able to work tomorrow. This really made us laugh on our team because we completely understand that frustration of not having energy and having to stress and worry about simple things that it should be simple just to turn on your light and have energy. But unfortunately, a lot of people still have that worry at the back of their mind constantly throughout the day. Nobody really should be living like this. And so kind of linked to that is stress. So we see a lot of people going to the gym and trying to work mainly on like their physical to improve their or to reduce their body fat. But one thing that we actually don't consider is cortisol. And cortisol is a stress-induced hormone that it really does have a huge impact on weight gain and other things, but also the fact that we in Nigeria were so frequently triggered by stress, it's not good for overall general health, and it's not really part of it having a soft life. If you want to have a soft life, you have to manage your stress. And so I want to put this graph up there to highlight how stress is affecting us physically, but also mentally. So I heard somebody speak called Alex Evans, and he spoke wonderfully on political polarization in Jerusalem. So I'm sure a lot of you know about the Palestine-Israel conflict. And I'm actually just giving this example because oftentimes I feel like as Nigerians, sometimes we try and have like the monopoly on stress, that we're the only ones that are stressed, but actually there's so many cases around the world of people facing very similar things to us. So I just wanted to highlight that as well. So the Palestine-Israel conflict, they have been fighting. Obviously, there's been a lot of violence over how many years now. And so Alex Evans was really talking about something called the continued traumatic stress. And so he was really just describing how there's so many factors that that kind of affect how you interact with the world. And so one of them in this case was the constant threat of a terrorist attack or invasion, or all of these kind of life-threatening dangers. And some of the symptoms are actually symptoms that I also see here in just on the streets of Lagos, because of how the life that we lead is being so stressful, having to wake up at 3 a.m., think about your generator, going to work early, being in traffic. So some of them include hypervigilance, anxiety, irritability, and just not being a good neighbor. So one of the things that I think is important for us to think about is how we can reduce our stress and focus on the things that matter the most. I think that's a big one of why we should all want a soft life. You don't deserve a hard life. So soft life is really just the opposite of a hard life. And so it's just something to consider. Just because somebody else suffered and you think, oh, just because you suffered and you think, oh, I'm fine, so other people should suffer as well, it doesn't mean that you're actually fine, or it doesn't mean that other people should also suffer just because of the fact that you suffered. So that's something we really preach at One Energy. Let's all just take the easy route. So I've gone through the why to live a soft life. So this is really the hows of living a soft life. I used to really think that everybody should want to do the girl boss thing. Everyone should just maximize productivity and be all about, working 24/7 and making a career, making a name for yourself. But that's actually not what every single person wants. So we found that the most important thing of part of being of having a soft life is finding what makes you happy and just doing that. So we had one of our customers who bought our product simply because they wanted to watch Z World and not be interrupted. They just really love the Bollywood films and just said, you know what, this is worth the investment. So I really appreciated that from her. Just being as happy and comfortable as you can is number one step to living a soft life. Another thing to consider is actually sustainability. I know a lot of us in Nigeria don't try so much to focus on sustainability, or would rather shy away from it because we think that people don't necessarily care, but people do care, and it's just we speak in different terms that is not kind of considered within the academic literature of sustainability. So people complaining about the smoke in Port Harcourt that is speaking about sustainability, or people saying that, oh, it doesn't usually rain at this time, or people complaining about their crop yields being smaller than it was last year. This is all people complaining about sustainability and focusing on the impacts of our activities today and how this will affect our future generations. So we all want future generations to live better than we are living now. Well, hopefully we all want that. And so it's important for us to really consider the actions that we're doing today and how they'll impact tomorrow. And so I am an environmentalist, but I'm not one of those that just kind of repeat Western tropes and say, okay, so it's sustainable to turn off the tap, so let's all turn off the tap. But we don't even have constant running water here everywhere. So what I really like doing is focusing on localizing all of these solutions and sustainability and making sure that we're all able to access it. And for me, that's one of the reasons why I even started a solar energy company, because of, yes, the benefits, the financial and the social benefits, but also the environmental benefits. People in Port Harcourt, this is a picture of Port Harcourt. I've actually heard multinationals of oil companies who pretty much have caused these smog issues also complaining about how bad the sit is. And so it's something that is actually solvable, and I just don't believe that we should all just continue waiting for somebody else to solve these issues. Unfortunately, we might be waiting a really long time. So I definitely am a proponent of us taking this into our own hands. The way you can live your soft life is buying into this buy now, pay later movement. So Nigeria is now the hub in Africa of fintech solutions. We have all of these that you see on screen, and probably even more and more being created every single day here. So they exist because there's actually a real need for it. People cannot often afford some of the items that they actually need. And I've seen buy now, pay later being pushed for everything from wigs to houses. And it's completely up to you what you decide to spend your money on. But we've seen with solar, it is one of those, it's like a productive asset. So if you buy now, pay later for a solar inverter, you can actually make that money back. So you're saving money instead of spending it on your energy bills, but you're also going to be using it typically to be building up your businesses or whatever it is. So there's huge cost savings there that Dr. Patrick also mentioned in his presentation. Solar energy is also inherently anti-capitalist, with the fact that it's allowed people to access something that they typically would not be able to access, and it is built to last. The products, they actually last for anywhere between 4 to 20 years. Sorry, some background noise. And so with solar, it's one of those products that you buy and you really should not have to think about it so much after that. There might be a little bit of maintenance here and there, but typically it's a vehicle to propel whole masses of people into a new dispensation, if you want to call it that. I read a statistic the other day that said Nigeria consumes 70% of its leather as pomo. And if you didn't know what that is, that's like cow skin, so which is the same as leather, but actually we're using it as sustenance and something that a lot of people enjoy. I love pomo, so it's hilarious to see that there's something that is so valuable to some people, but we're using it in a completely different way. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and it kind of just highlights that we are in a different age, and Nigeria's skill sets can actually be harnessed in a different way. We don't have to develop in the same way that other countries have been developing. So we have companies like Andela coming up that are training Nigerians and other Africans across the continent in tech skills so that they can export these tech skills. And interestingly, one of our very first customers, I think actually our very first customer, our solar customer, was an accountant. He was born and raised here in Nigeria, and he was just a really good accountant. So he was a pretty young guy, but he was being paid in dollars by a foreign company to do their accounts, and he lived in Lagos still, and he was really enjoying it. So I think there's a huge opportunity for us to continue exporting services, but the catch is that this really does require two main things. It requires internet access and constant electricity. So that's actually why he called us up. We had barely even launched when our first customer called us. He just said, I need a stable electricity solution as soon as possible because it's so embarrassing when my lights are going out on my Wi-Fi during these calls. So I think that there's a huge opportunity here for us to be exporting services. And if you're not even so corporately inclined, even exporting creative services. So Nollywood, Nigeria's version of Hollywood, is the second biggest exporter of films after Bollywood. So I think that's a huge statistic. And even on TikTok, you're seeing Nigerians creating some amazing things. Afrobeats to the world is now a huge movement. Our creative industry has also contributed so much to Nigeria's GDP, and that is, in a way, it's a service that we are exporting and creating value globally. So constant power, constant internet are really the drivers behind this form of economic growth. So I've touched on solar and the soft life a little bit, so I'm going to dive into this a little bit more and share some of my own experiences. So like I said, we can definitely reimagine new growth pathways, and that's part of the reason why we started One Energy. We saw a huge need of people not having constant power or having power bills that are so expensive. It completely reduces your margins if you're running a business, or a lot of your disposable income is going towards your energy if you are a residential customer. And so we saw this gap to provide this 500-watt solar home system to a number of consumers, whether it's a small business or an individual or a bachelor who's earning in dollars and wants to be able to attend his meetings without any issues. So with our product, what we found is we thought we had completely hacked it. We said that we can do buy now, pay later. You can spread out the payments between 3 to 12 months. The system works. The financing is there. So, everybody should rush our product. So we spent some time and we found that we had a good number of customers. People were definitely interested, but that marketing aspect and that education aspect still really, we needed to ramp that up because I don't know about your experience, but in my experience, there's been a lot of people who've just been reluctant to adopt new technologies. Solar is not necessarily new, especially not on the continent, but there has been some companies that have potentially ruined the reputation of solar and made people very reluctant. And we're already a skeptical society and a low trust society already. So trying to convince people of something that might be a little bit foreign to them is pretty much a Herculean task. It's pretty difficult. And so what we have been trying to do is really ramp up our marketing, get more people to talk about solar. And I'm so glad to be part of this panel and trying to just show people the different aspects that you have to solar energy. I have a funny story that in my own household, I'm probably the most experimental person, but literally nobody even wants to try my food because they think, oh, I probably put something weird in it. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I genuinely think we should all be as experimental as possible because there are too many things that we have to do in this society. So why not just try it? So the way that I lean into soft life, which kind of sounds boring, but automation. So as well as not leaning into technology, not leaning into like things like solar, digital technology as well has been kind of slow to be adopted on the continent, and it's something that I think could really help us boost everything we're trying to do. Again, we do need constant power to be able to adopt these technologies, but I do think that once we sort that, and I encourage everybody to continue pushing for us to have constant power through solar specifically, but then we can then decide to see more automation throughout our lives and just have a better quality of life generally. So I use Zapier, this tool that pretty much just automates everything you do. So if you want to send a tweet out, but you also want it to go onto your Facebook page, you can trigger it. So it can automatically, once you post the tweet, it automatically posts to your Facebook. And you don't have to now switch different apps or things like that. It can just happen automatically. And they have a number of different automations that you can use. And that's exactly how I view solar. It should be something that you purchase once, you don't have to think about it again. Maybe you just click a button or you do some maintenance at some point in the future, but it should just be very automated and stress-free. And so we have this new generation of digital natives that are coming up, and they're very savvy with technology and they are definitely pushing for it. So if you're part of an organization and you do see and you are considering moving to technology or things like solar, definitely speak to digital natives and get their opinions because they are actually the future and they are who's really coming up next, and they're going to be shaping the future of work. And we have seen this tendency to lean toward automation and digital technology. So that's something to consider. Okay, well, that is really all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. And I just want to continue to encourage you to work towards difficult things and work towards the impossible. And with that, you can definitely achieve everything that you set your mind to, including a soft life.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Natasha. That was very interesting presentation, and I had a lot of fun listening to you. Like I said earlier, if you have any questions, any questions, just please put it in the Q&A box and the responding to it after our guests. So next up we have one more presentation from one of our customers, Ham Africa. enough convincing for you to make a switch to solar. So, Mr. Kolawole, please, you have the floor.
Okay, good morning. Hope you can hear me. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, all right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Opeyemi Kolawole. I'm the CEO of KWG Limited. I'm sorry you're going to be hearing some interferences. I'm in a ride to a destination. Okay, so I'm just briefly going to be talking about the like a testimonial, the advantages of the solar system which was deployed into my facility. Um, Firstly, I would say I would like to use this medium to say a big thank you to Pam for bringing this initiative and I mean solving a lot of energy issues in the country right now. Because when I started up my lounge in December. Within that period, I deployed the solar system into, but we didn't start using it until late. I mean, sometime last month, due to some internet issues from my establishment. But I would say that after these solar systems were deployed, we have actually um, seen a lot of improvement in terms of cost for power and all. My facility is actually a whole building that houses a studio, an audio and a video studio, and two standard offices with about six laptops. The CEO's office that has a CCTV camera, laptop, and a small fridge. We have a lounge for relaxation that has about two industrial fans, two casino games, and one TV. But we have the VIP bar that has two TVs, six industrial fans, and one chiller. And we have a regular bar with two TVs, four industrial fans, one chiller, and a DJ stand. Then we also have a lodge, 4 rooms, um, with four fans and four TVs. The inverter system deployed, I mean, it carries all of this that I've mentioned. It's a 3.5 kVA. And prior to installing this system, we were on the dailies. There's lights available though, but the light is not usually constant like that. So we have 4 generators. A big one, not diesel. All of them are petrol gen, because I'm really very skeptical using a diesel generator. So we have a big 11 kVA generator, and we have 2 smaller 5 kVAs, and the last one is the smallest, is a 3 kVA. Before we deployed the solar system on a dailies, we spent close to about 15,000 naira on petrol, and on a monthly basis that's about 450. So between December and January that we were yet to be deployed the solar, we had already spent close to about 900k on fuel alone. And this drastically reduced when we deployed the solar system in February to about 6,000 daily. Initially it was 15k daily, Like I said, the light in that area is not very okay. So we have an average of about four hours light daily, and we run the facility 24 hours. But with the solar system deployed, the 15K reduced drastically to about 6K daily, because the solar works for daytime when we were yet to have customers and the offices are just running at a minimal level. The solar system serves from the morning till the afternoon. Before we would need to put on the generator, will be in the evening when we would need bigger appliances like the big speakers, the ACs, and all. But from morning till that afternoon time, we run the solar, and it has been very effective, which has drastically reduced the consumption of fuel for the generators. In fact, we have stopped using two of those generators, the medium one and the smaller one, entirely. We only use the bigger generators and the small one. So this has ultimately saved us about 270K monthly. I mean, between February and this March, we're still doing our analysis for March. March is yet to be over, but in February, we've saved 270K monthly on buying four. And if I'm going to, if that figure, continues that way, it would mean that in 10 months we would have, saved costs more that we'd use in deploying that solar system. I mean, that's a big cost saving for us. And even at some point, we had issues with NEPA that for about 2-3 weeks, that our lights wasn't on at all. The solar was handling the whole power until we were able to fix that issue. So it's a good system. Palm Africa has done real good for my company, I must say, and we're very grateful for this opportunity to be able to have this system deployed in our facility. Thank you. If you want to ask a question, I'm open. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kwame, for that presentation. I think it was very insightful to me to see the impact that deploying our system has had on your facility. I mean, 270K savings per month is very, very significant. Very, very significant. And when you look at it over 1 year, 2 years, or look at over the lifetime of that solar system, then you see that it's very big when you go solar. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let me quickly also add. That. Hello, are you there?
Now I'm on a box and see if we have any questions. So if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A while we read the questions here. So I have one from Ifeanyiwa. So he said, do you have online trainings for? Yes, I can hear you. You can go on, Mr. Kwame.
Yeah, I want to quickly add that the Palm system is quite unique from all the solar systems I've seen, especially the batteries. I mean, it's not like the regular car batteries, the big car batteries that we are used to. this is like I don't know if they have a picture of the place. I mean, the way their batteries are, but they are very cute, very presentable, very good, presentable. Not like the normal batteries that you put on rack, and they don't usually look too good. So that's the first time I'm seeing that kind of system. I'm told that it's the new revolution. So you have thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kwemi. So yes, the systems with the deployer palm are very compact, and that's because we focus specifically on lithium-ion batteries, and lithium-ion batteries take a lot less space than typical lead-acid batteries that you have to put on a lot of racks, take up a lot of space in your facility. So yes, that's one of the benefits of going solar with Ham Africa. So I have one question. I'm going to direct it to Patrick. So there's a question here that says, do you have online trainings for intending solar technicians or engineers?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. There you are. So currently we don't do online training, but I do know that there's a couple of online training opportunity provided by the government and other private organizations. So maybe that might be worth exploring, but at the moment, we don't do any online training for external individuals.
Right. The second question from Benjamin says, how can I work with your company? I think I can give a brief response here, and then Dr. Patrick can answer that. So we are currently hiring for contract sales rep. So if that's something that is interesting to you, you could send a mail to let me see if I can type that to you here. So just send a mail to blessing sector at africa.com. If that's something that's interesting to you, you can reach out to blessing with a mail. So yes, send the response to your question, and yeah, if there are any other questions, you can love to have them right now. And if you would like to speak, maybe by raising up your hand, we'd love to. You can do that as well. All right, if there are no further questions, I think I would bring this webinar to a close. Thank you very much to everyone for coming today. It was really nice to listen to our speakers, the Patrick, Natasha, Mr. Kwemi, and we had them speak about the benefits of going solar. If you would like to contact us, please check our website, hamafrica.com, or or you could give us a call on numbers that Dr. Patrick shared with everyone earlier. So yes, just a quick note. We currently have a promotional campaign ongoing where you can get 3.5 kVA solar system or 15% off at about 2.5 to 2.7 million, and then you have the opportunity to pay for a period of up to 12 months. So you can go solar paying about 770,000 at first, and then paying the rest of it over a period of 12 months. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in for your business, and if you think you need a much larger system,